Hello and welcome to my hand stack profile. First, the hands. We are playing 3 Fire Hand. If this is destroyed by our opponent's card, we can target a monster they control, destroy it, and then we can special summon an Ice Hand from our deck. Ice Hand can, if it's destroyed by our opponent's card, target a spell or trap our opponent controls, destroy it, and then it can special summon a Fire Hand from our deck. These effects are not once per turn at all, so it's really great to use these cards. Then we are playing 2 Prominence Hand. Prominence Hand can special summon itself if we control either Fire Hand or Ice Hand. This means that we get really easy rank 4 access with this card. Then the newest hand support, we are playing 3 Thunder Hand. Thunder Hand can special summon itself from the hand or graveyard if a monster with a base attack or defense of 1600 is destroyed, and then it can destroy a card our opponent controls. This is great because it's a body on the field, so it's a monster we could use for a rank 4, and we can just detach it from a rank 4 monster again to just summon it from the graveyard over and over again. But this effect is a hard once per turn. Because we want to search Thunder Hand, because it's a great card, we are playing 2 Thunder Seahorse. Thunder Seahorse can send itself from the hand to the graveyard to add 2 Thunder monsters with 1600 attack or less from our deck to the hand. But we cannot special summon during the turn we use this effect. So sometimes if you get a really good hand and a Thunder Seahorse in the hand, you might want to pass on this effect if you want to special summon. But if you just want to search yourself a Thunder Hand and your turn is just going to be set Fire Hand pass, then you can activate the Thunder Seahorse with no regrets. Because Thunder Hand can special summon itself when any monster with a base attack of 1600 attack or defense is destroyed, we are playing some targets for that as well. We are playing 2 Bear Blocker. This says that set cards in our spell and trap zone cannot be destroyed by card effects during our opponent's turn. And 2 Perform Mage Trick Clown. This can special summon itself from the graveyard when it's sent to the graveyard by paying 1000 life points. This has 1600 attack as well as the Bear Blocker, which has 1600 attack as well. And our last target is a Breaker the Magical Warrior. This has 1600 attack as well and it's spell and trap removal. Then we are playing 3 Supply Squad. This can draw us a card if a monster we control is destroyed by battle or card effect. Because sometimes we even want to crash with a Fire or Ice Hand, we can easily trigger this, and this is a soft once per turn. So if we control multiple of these, we can draw multiple cards every single time a monster is destroyed by battle or card effect. Then we are playing 2 Pot of Avarice. This allows us to shuffle back 5 monsters from our graveyard into our deck to draw 2 cards. This means that we can recycle Fire or Ice Hands or Thunder Hands or just get extra deck monsters back into our extra deck to draw 2 cards. It's a really great card, but we are not maxing out on this because it's kinda dead turn 1. Then a Monster Reborn, because it's really great to just summon a Fire Hand from your graveyard, crash with the Fire Hand, summon an Ice Hand, summon a Fire Hand, summon an Ice Hand, and so on. This is just many pieces of removal if you can just summon a Fire or Ice Hand from your graveyard with this. Then for the traps, we are playing a Backup Team. Backup Team can draw us cards up to the number of cards our opponent controls, and then we put the number of cards that we just drew to the bottom of our deck. This means that we can get a Fire or Ice Hand out of our hand because we want to have it in the deck. And it can even set itself from the graveyard again. So it's a really cool card and you only need it as a one-off. Then a Jar of Avarice. This can target 5 cards in our graveyard, shuffle them back into the deck, and then draw 1 card. Because this just targets 5 cards, we can even recycle Pot of Avarices with this. It's a really fun card, but really don't play it at more than 1. Then we are playing 3 Terrors of the Overroot. This has a really funny reason because, for example, Fire Hand can only summon Ice Hand when it successfully destroyed a monster our opponent controls. And because sometimes our opponent just doesn't have a monster, we can, with Terrors of the Underroot, target a card on our opponent's field and a card in their graveyard, set the card from their graveyard to their side of the field, and send the card from the field to the graveyard. This way we can either set a spell or trap on their side of the field if we want to trigger an Ice Hand, or we can set a monster to their side of the field if we want to trigger a Fire Hand. It really helps if our opponent is trying to play around the Fire and Ice Hand. We can prevent it with Terrors of Overroot. And this is basically an IDP, but way cheaper because it's a common print. It's a really cool card, and this is probably one of the best decks to use this in. Because basically every single monster we play has a different type. We are playing 3 Tikaboos. We are playing Thunder, Aqua, Pyro, Beast, Fiend, Spellcasters, Rocks. There's so many different monster types that we are playing, so Tikaboo really doesn't hurt us at all. Then we are playing 2 Pennant of Revolution. This says that if one or more cards that we control are destroyed by a battle or card effect, we can add a Liberty at Last from our deck to or graveyard to our hand. Liberty at Last says that if a monster is destroyed by battle, we can target 2 monsters on the field and shuffle them back into the deck. It's nice because Pennant can recycle the Liberty at Last, and if you got a bear blocker on field, your opponent can't even destroy the Liberty at Last. And it's a removal piece that you can recycle, and it can technically target 2 monsters on the field to shuffle them back. So you could even, this might be a bit cope, you could even shuffle back a Fire or Ice Hand with this if your opponent only has 1 monster on their side of the field. It's funny, and you can easily trigger the Pennant because, as I said earlier, you sometimes even crash with your own monsters. And the last card we are playing in the main deck is a Warning Point at 3. This is just a cool card, especially this format. I like it really much because if your opponent summons 1 or more monsters, you can say that that monster or that monsters cannot attack, their effects are negated, and they cannot be used for a fusion, synchro, exceed, or link summon. So let's say our opponent summons a Fenrir, then we can say, okay, I just Warning Point you. You cannot attack with that Fenrir anymore, so no Fenrir effect for you as well. You cannot even use it for an Xyz summon. You cannot even use it for a Link summon. It's really cool. So Warning Point is a funny card, but I don't think it's going to be useful after this format. In the extra deck, we are playing a 106 Giant Hand. This is a monster negate. It's really not the best rank 4 monster, but this is a hand deck, so we are playing 106 Giant Hand. For some a bit better rank 4 monsters, we are playing a Boguska, a Redoer, a Castell, a Cowboy, a Maestrum, a Silent Honor Arc, a Tornado Dragon, an Abyss Dweller, a number 27 with its target being a Super Quantal, Great Magnus, and finally we are playing a Zeus because we are playing so many Xyz monsters. And then, because we don't just need Xyz monsters, and sometimes our opponent could de-barrier us as well, we are playing a few Link monsters. We are playing a Proxy Dragon, a Nightmare Phoenix to out problematic Floodgates, and a Pit Knight early. Yeah, I hope you like this deck. It's obviously not the best deck out there, but it's a funny deck, and I really enjoyed building a pure hands deck, or at least I tried to make it as pure as possible while still keeping it as good as possible as well. Yeah, if you have any questions for the deck, if you have any suggestions, if you have any other decks that you want to see, then post it in the comments. I'm really glad that you watched this video, and I hope you have a nice day and stay safe. Yeah, I'll hopefully see you in the next video. Goodbye.